everybody. This is Bill McFadden from Tone Pure Music. And in this video, we're going to see how to use secondary dominants to increase the harmonic interest in a composition. So the first time we heard the cue, it was a melody without secondary dominants. And the second time we added secondary dominants just about every single measure, which increased the harmonic interest. So let's see how to do that. First of all, we need to take a look at what a secondary dominant is, just as a quick refresher. And so we'll start that now. Okay, to make things simple, we'll go ahead and start with the C major scale and see that the C-wit chords are actually in the C major scale. So there's our C major scale. And then if we stay in the scale, the triads that we can form just by moving our hand position. So this is your 1 chord, D minor is a 2 chord, E minor is a 3 chord, F is a 4th chord, and the uppercase means it's major, lowercase is minor. The 5 chord, which is also the dominant, which we'll talk about, and then the dominant 7th, you would add the F to the first 3 notes, and then you have your 6th chord, which is minor, your 7th chord, which is minor diminished, and then you're back to your tonic. Now the secondary dominants, the first one we are having here relative to the 2 chord, which is D minor, is A7. And one way you can get that is you go from D minor, or the D note, go down a 4th, and that gives you your A7, or you could go from D and go up a 5th, and that gives you the root of your 7th chord there. So this is called a secondary dominant, and it's relative to the 2 chord. So it's a 5/7 over 2. The next secondary dominant in the key would be B7, and it's the 5/7 of the 3 chord. So again, if we go to the 3 chord, which has a tonic, which starts with an E, and then if we go up a 5th, we get to B and then form the 7th from B. And so you have a 5/7 over 3. And then the next one we have is a 5/7 over 4. So again, the 4 is the F chord starting with F. And if I take F and go down a 4th, I get C, and then I use that as my root for the 7th chord. So that would be the 5/7 of 4, and it goes to the 4. And then we have the 5/7 of the 5 chord. The 5 chord is G. And then if we go down a 4th and form the 7th there, or starting with G going up a 5th, get the same result. So we go from the D7 to the 5, which is G. And then we have the 5/7 of the 6th chord, the 6th chord being A minor. So going down a 4th from A minor, we get an E7, which resolves to the 6th chord, which is A minor. So, and this whole thing is based on the idea the 1 chord is the tonic, the 4 chord is the subdominant, and the 5 chord is the dominant in the key of C. And also you have the dominant 7th. Now the dominant 7th is not the secondary dominant, it's your primary dominant. So whenever you have the dominant of the key, it is your primary dominant, and any other dominant would be considered a secondary dominant. So the melody that we looked at, before we get there, let's just take a look at the C natural minor scale really quick. And then the triads formed by that, because we have 3 flats in the C minor scale. We have C minor, the 2 chord is diminished, the 3 chord is major, the 4th chord is minor, The 5th chord is minor, 6th chord is major, 7th chord is major, and then we're back to our tonic chord. And then you would have these secondary dominants in this key. So the B7 would go to the E flat, the C7 would go to the F minor, the D7 would go to the G minor, and the E flat 7 would go to the E flat, and the F7 would go to the B flat. So these are chords formed by the C natural minor, or which is the Aeolian mode in the C scale, and the harmonic minor scale is it just has 2 flats, E flat and A flat, and then the triads formed by that scale because we have E flat and A flat. So our 2nd chord is diminished. Our 3rd chord is actually augmented. So C flat's the same as B. And then here we have the F minor chord, G major chord, and then A flat major. Also, you're going to get B minor diminished, or flat 5, and then back to the tonic chord. And then your secondary dominants here would be the F7 going to the 4 chord, which is in this case is F minor, then the D7 going to the G, and the E flat 7 going to the A flat. And again, we have the tonic in this mode, C harmonic minor, subdominant, dominant, back to tonic. And here's just a list of all of the dominant chords in all keys, which you should be familiar with. And then here's the melody that we looked at. Let's listen to that. And then when we add the secondary dominants in, we'll notice the difference. So same melody, just different harmonization, adding in the secondary dominants. Now notice in this measure right here, we don't, the 5/7 of 1 is not a secondary dominant, it's a primary dominant, but the rest of them are secondary dominants. And that basically summarizes what secondary dominants are and how they were used in this piece. In the next video, we'll get into the orchestration and also the counter melodies that were used in the orchestration and how they were formed in light of the secondary dominants. So the files for this session right here will be available, the Dorico file and the Cubase file, if you're interested, and also a XML of the Dorico file if you're using another third-party scoring programs such as Finale or Sibelius, or MuseScore also works. So this is Bill McFadden signing off from TonePure.com.